Hey, yo, what's the deal? It's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I mean? As of this recording right now, it is 7 p.m. You know what I mean? May 17th, 2025. And I'm right now here chilling. You know what I mean? I'm walking around and yes, like I said, it's a beautiful day here in New York. A real beautiful day. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to make this kind of video, but, I had a conversation with a friend earlier today. A friend and his brother. And I was talking about some stuff about AEW and such. We had a very deep conversation, right? And I mentioned some things that I really had to catch myself on. I was like, you know what? This is absolutely fucking true. It's absolutely true. So it went from the conversation I had earlier in my video about how, I'd rather have a name change and get pushed heavy than make a debut, keep my name, and be booked like trash, right? Basically talking about, Jeff Cobb and Josh Alexander, right? But then as I started getting more deep into the conversation, I was like, I noticed that with AEW talents, they personally would rather, do everything in their power to work hard to get 5 stars from a newsletter way more than to win a championship. And that's the sense I get with AEW talents. You know what I'm saying? I think with talents in All Elite Wrestling, I don't think I know with talents from All Elite Wrestling, this is what they do. You know what I mean? Like they will go and they will do everything in their power to suck the dick of one Dave Meltzer, right? They'll suck his cock and everything. Just to get high match ratings in the Observer, right? Or just to get some sort of ratings in the Observer, way more than winning a fucking world championship. Like, you mean to tell me, right? And let's keep it a stack. And this is a conversation that a lot of wrestling fans ain't ready for, especially AEW sickos. You mean to tell me that you would rather build up a match, a few matches, build up a match, just to get attention for a guy who sells a newsletter, who you got to pay for, by the way, right? A subscription, way more than to work to create a legacy, to win a championship. I understand it's a prop. I understand, winning a championship is a prop, right? But just hear me out, right? Hear me out. What's worth more, okay? Getting into a, working your way up to be part of a fucking newsletter where it just comes and goes, or you want to be remembered and such, and etched in history, right? Main event WrestleMania, or even do a WrestleMania match, right? Where people will remember that more than a fucking newsletter, right? I don't even know the first newsletter from Dave Meltzer. I don't know it. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't know it. Nobody does, right? But this is what the talents of AEW does, right? And don't give me bullshit and such. Do not bullshit me. You know what I mean? Because this is what the fuck they do. This is what people like Will Ospreay and such does, right? They do all this to get 5 stars from a guy who, again, is so, I don't want to say out of touch, but he's so dumb with shit in this business that it's laughable. So you mean to tell me you compensate winning world championships just to get into a fucking piece of paper? That's what you're telling me? That's basically what you're telling me. You're telling me this. If that's the case, then that's sad. That is really, really sad. It's sad because, this is why, and now I see why WWE don't respect Dave Meltzer. Now I see why people at IWC don't respect Dave Meltzer. And mind you, AEW is pro Meltzer. So, of course, they're going to, want to get those achievements, right? So basically, you ain't shit. You know what I mean? You ain't shit. You ain't shit. You ain't shit if you want to do all this just to get 5 stars. And that's sad. that's really sad. It's sad, that you do these matches and such, right? You do these wrestling matches just to get an imaginary star in a fucking newsletter, a newsletter that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Nobody. I mean, it's you pay money for fake news. That's all you're basically doing, right? But this is what the talents of AEW does, right? They do everything in their power just to work their way into getting into a piece of paper, and that's sad. Again, it's laughable to think that you do all this just to get into that. Like, oh shit, we just run across. Shut the fuck up. But you do all of this, right? Just to get imaginary stars from a guy who is more than out of touch. Wow. And this is why the company gets the bullshit that it gets. I mean, this is why AEW gets the shit that they get because of this kind of mindset. You know what I mean? Like, because of this kind of bullshit, this is why. This is what happens, right? And you mean to tell me, again, you want to sit there and bullshit me and tell me that, like, this is a great thing? Come on, man. Are you serious? How many 5+ star matches has Dave Meltzer given out to AEW? We all know Dave Meltzer is anti-WWE. We all know this. Right? His new golden boy is Will Ospreay. That's his golden boy. It's no longer Kenny Omega. It's Will Ospreay. Right? So, how the fuck you gonna sit there and say that that's a pleasable thing? Right? And this is why AEW gets the stigma that it gets. This is why it gets the crap it gets. Because of the bullshit that you see. Things like that. You know what I mean? And it's sad, bro. It's sad. So you would rather, get that more than win a world championship and an event, built a storyline up. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels didn't have to do, they didn't have to do all this shit for a fucking newsletter. They did this because, again, they make an actual story. They make an actual fucking story. But this is crazy when you think about it. It's insane when you think about it. You know what I mean? It's bizarre. But I'm about to be out, guys. You know what I mean? I definitely will holler at y'all tomorrow. Hopefully, there's some, I definitely will be coming with some discussions and such. You know what I mean? So I'm going to check y'all. Peace.